Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City. On the broadcast today, Senator Dr. Robin Titus joins us. She's here for the whole show talking water and the A's on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. It's a 50,000 square foot hardware store and a whole lot more. It's your spring headquarters with lawn and garden supplies, power equipment, and outdoor living. Big R on Bering Boulevard in Sparks next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. Big R, hardware and a whole lot more.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2023 legislative session is brought to you by Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And by Nevada Builders Alliance, building a better Nevada.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Senator Dr. Robin Titus. She's member of Education, Finance, and Health and Human Services. Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Well, thank you very much for asking me. It's always a pleasure to be here. I really like your style of making sure you cover all Nevada issues, not just in one particular issue.
We try, ma'am. Let's start out with the biggest issue for especially the northern two-thirds of the state is the water situation. I mean, I don't think, I did weather for 23 years. I've never seen an abundance of this kind of water. It's creating problems, especially in part of your district in Churchill County, where they're going to see LaHontan, I understand, filled 3 times over.
Well, that's what we first heard, and absolutely, and just as a little aside, the last time I was on this show a couple months ago, it was raining when I came in. This morning it's raining when I came in, and it's pretty interesting. This is an exceptional year. No question about it. LaHontan indeed is going, they say there's enough water there now. I heard 4 times.
4 times, my goodness.
Just a month ago I heard 3 times. They could fill it 3 times. Now they say they could fill it 4 times. So fortunately there's folks in our state that have forward thinking ideas. And in 2017, when we had our last really good water year, Churchill County recognized that Fallon, the town of Fallon, was below the water level of where that water might go. So they actually did a major ditch and drain that water out into the desert south of town. And that's what they did in 2017. They kept that available, and so that is full, and they have dug now a second one to move that water out. So right now, I was talking to James Settlemeyer yesterday. Right now, the LaHontan is below the boat ramp. So you can't launch a boat in LaHontan right now because they are emptying it out. But we also know, again, there's enough water up in the mountains to fill it 4 more times. So they'll continue to drain it. The bad news is what we really should be doing is saving this water, right? LaHontan for a long time, the Carson River drainage has wanted to have some maybe other upstream available reservoirs to save this water, infuse it back to the groundwater, somehow preserve that water. That's still to come. We're not doing that right now. We're recharging the water right now just based on the rain. Right?
Do you think that's ever going to be a possibility with the environmental activism that we see in the state? I mean, Ioneer is, trying to proceed with their mine in another portion of your district.
Right.
And Teams Buckwheat, from my good friend Jerry Team, who is not a political person, has become the big issue there. It's almost like people come last and everything else comes first when it comes to certain folks in the environmental movement.
Well, just if we talk about a little bit about Ioneer and the buckwheat, I will tell you that they are growing that buckwheat in a nursery in my district, actually. Well, Esmeralda County is now my district.
And that's UNR is doing that.
Yeah, UNR is doing it, and they're successful at that. So I think we have to be mindful of the environment, but at the same time we have to be mindful of our future and what that area can bring. I've toured that mine, and if we're continuing to push the electronic vehicles and the future, quote, green environments, we need lithium. And would we rather get lithium in the United States, in Nevada, not only for the income, but where we have an oversight on the environmental impact, or do you want to get it from some other country who have no environmental impact? And if you think that what they do there doesn't affect us, then you're being pretty naive. So that's just a little aside, but back to the water issue.
Yeah, and can we just continue on for a moment
Sure.
about the idea of building some kind of dam and reservoir on the Carson River, because that's been talked about for years.
A long time.
Is that possible? And who would fund it?
Anything's possible, right?
Well, that's
So
true. You're a doctor, you know that.
the issue is, of course, that it's not just our state, but it's two states, it's California and Nevada. It rolls through a lot of land. They've been looking at mostly recharging the ground and putting it back into the ground, which is, I think, and then being able to pump it back out as opposed to an actual reservoir. And I think, I've met with Ed James and the Carson Water Conservancy and all their plans. I mean, we're trying to think about what to do with this water. Right now, we're dumping it in the desert, and so that's not something we want to be consistent with, but that's what we have to do right now. I checked our water, for those out there who want to know what the water's doing, the USGS gives a great site, and you have an app on your phone that you can look at what the water gauges are doing.
Right.
And I have river property up on the West Walker River, up Hoy Canyon. I was up there Sunday, and it's actually, on Sunday was at its maximum. If it went any higher, part of that property is going to be underwater. Well, when we built there, we knew at times it's going to be underwater. It's been underwater twice, and so I checked the day coming in. It's risen 1.5 feet in the last 3 days.
And this is just the beginning.
Yes, and this is and the Carson River, same thing. So those that really want to see what the water is, go on the USGS map. You can download your app. You can check the water gauges. You can actually see what this water is doing. Tahoe's almost at its brim. I mean, we have got to, understand that this water's coming, and we have to be ready for it.
Okay, let me ask you about that. So the last thing I had seen was that Lake Tahoe was 2 feet above the natural rim. Has it gone higher than that now?
I didn't check Tahoe's today. So in the last 3 days with this warmer water, the good news is, frankly, this spring has been pretty good. We've had lots of water, and it came down ideally. We had cold weather. There was snow across the Simi-Dimi Pass, which I have to come through to get here today, and it had snowed. That's perfect. What we want is that water to slowly release and come down. Yeah, there's going to be some flooding, but so far we've had an ideal water release. The other thing that's really a big concern that I think affects all Nevadans is WOTUS. I don't know if you're following that water of the United States issue. It's been going on since the 1980s. And
that's kind of scary.
It is, and it as should be. Nevadans should be very aware of what WOTUS is.
This could be a little pond in your backyard could be affected by
this.
So,
the point is, when President Trump came on board, he vetoed or eliminated in 2015 the current statute. Biden has now re-signed it, and both of our state senators voted against it. So they, rightfully so, both Jackie Rosen and Kathleen Cortez Masto voted against Biden's ruling, because they stated, and I agree, that Nevada is unique. We should not be in any category with other states, and that currently we have small, ephemeral little streams that have water in them, and they haven't had water in them for years, but for the last month and a half, they've been flowing. Now, should the federal government control those waters? Absolutely not. This is a rare year that we have, a record year, frankly. And do we want the federal government controlling this? I mean, our counties are concerned, NACO's concerned. I think we as a state should be very concerned. I'm concerned that our Attorney General hasn't weighed in on this. You know, with both of our state senators voting against it, we haven't heard a word of where Nevada is.
And we've invited him to be on the program, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. He will be here. We can ask him about it.
Please.
If people want to know more about this particular issue, I would recommend Range Magazine has a ton of articles of this over the last few years, and very well worth reading about
NACO's website has a great article on the history of it too. Because
and that's the Association of Counties.
National Association of Counties.
Nevada
Association, Nevada. And so they're very concerned about it. So my husband was up in Winnemucca. We have family in Winnemucca, and he was up there last week, and he sent me a picture of the Quinn River. I mean, we've been going out into the desert all of our lives, and I've never seen water in the Quinn River. The Quinn River is flooding. There's so much water out there.
Yes, and again, when you have water going into the Humboldt, it comes out near Lovelock and it goes into the sink. And the farmers there all use flood irrigation, which has always been, you know, kind of interesting. One of the other things that's interesting from a water perspective is that one would have thought that Fallon would have had a problem this year because the canal is being lined that comes out of Derby Dam, and so they weren't able to get water from there, but they have so much water coming in from the Carson River and other tributaries that there's no problem for Fallon at this point.
Well, you know, I think continuing on the line of water, because there's always conversations of water. Lake meat's going up. It's been a good water.
Thank goodness, yes.
Thank goodness. But, well, we were tired of finding more dead bodies, right? I mean, we had enough dead bodies. It's good to come up and cover that up.
I want to point out again, you are a doctor. Okay?
In that Fallon question and the lining of the Truckee Canal, you know, you mentioned Fallon, but it truly was going to affect Fernley in a negative manner.
Correct.
Because a lot of the homes along that canal have well water, and even the city of Fernley. They were worried that by lining that canal, they're not going to get the recharge of the water table there in Fernley.
Do you agree with Senator Goycochea that there needs to be something where there is an outlet from that pipeline to go into the Fernley area to allow that to recharge?
Absolutely.
Continue?
I think that's been something that's been it's almost a property right. Your water is your property right that we look at in Nevada, and I think that lining of that, it's kind of myopic vision. First, the federal government does nothing, and then they overreact. That's the typical opinion I have. And now lining that canal, the negative, because it flooded, right? Say, oh, we have to save this community. But all the other negative consequences, there was things that they need to address with that canal lining.
Right, but I mean, just to play devil's advocate here, for years, you know, there was reports that it was half the water was being lost. They were supposed to go to Fallon, and Fallon was the farming oasis. Fernley was a much smaller community. Now, Fernley is part of the beginning of a huge boom.
Absolutely.
And they need every drop of water they can get.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Speaking of agreeing, I agree, as you asked, did I agree with Senator Goycochea? Absolutely agree with Senator Goycochea. And I have, as you know, he's termed out this year. And so he and I work together, even out of session. We speak not daily, but frequently, and I have been trying to be a sponge with all his knowledge with his water law. Right now in session, there's about 19 different bills that address water. It is such an incredible topic in Nevada. Even with a wet year, it's a topic, but a dry year, it's even a bigger topic.
Sure, of course.
And so trying to absorb his knowledge of 3M plans, some of the mitigation, some of the water conservation issues. So I've signed on to many of his bills. We're trying to clean up water law while we still have him with us. And so I think it's important that we project out in Nevada. We know our history. We make better policy going forward in Nevada based on what we've gotten right and based on what we've gotten wrong. And I think Senator Goycochea is the man that we have to follow.
Okay, so in your discussions with him, I'm sure that Eastern Nevada's water has come up.
Right.
And my thought is that as long as the Southern Nevada Water Authority owns those ranches with all those water rights in Eastern Nevada, that pipeline may be dead for 30 years, but it's not dead forever.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Nothing ever really goes away.
Especially at the legislature.
Especially here, you can, and that's why I worry about this last minute. We're at, what, 30 plus days here. Some bills have died, but we always find there's ways and there's packages you can slip them in to move them forward. So until sine die happens at that night.
Isn't it 10 days after sine die?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, the governor has 14 days to veto bills after that.
Pocket veto, right?
Well, we could discuss that too about what's happening there. If I can digest one more minute about what's happening with our governor and bills. This session, so far only 5 bills have gotten over to the governor to sign. Last session, 19 had gotten there by now. Session before that, 23. And so this waiting to get any of these bills, these good water bills that need to get over, some of this other stuff, I see it as just a strategy because we do have sustainable veto. We can sustain his veto.
Right.
And just from a logistics thing, I think that they're stalling so that if they do send things over to him and he vetoes them, it will be after. It would be too late for them to come back and for us to sustain his veto. So we're looking at a delay. Just by the numbers, why are only 5 bills gotten to him so far? And so we'll see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back so much more with Senator Robin Titus after this timeout.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Remember 2010 in Northern Nevada, 13 to 14% unemployment, thousands of homes in foreclosure, Nevada's casinos closing? Families in the Reno-Sparks area were hurting. Many were losing everything. Then Story County launched a game changer for our region, a public-private industrial partnership, streamlined permitting, slashed bureaucracy, attracting Fortune 500 companies that made Nevada their home. Story County generated a river of cash to area communities. Economic studies by the state and others for the Gigafactory consistently show positive economic benefits for our region. $4 billion in local wages, $17 billion in consumer spending and economic activity, over $100 million in taxes to Washoe, Story, Reno, Sparks, and Nevada, just for the Gigafactory alone. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Senator Robin Titus. She's a member of Education, Finance, and Health and Human Services. Just staying on the water issue for another minute, AB 313 is the Pitt Lake mining issue. Explain what that is and why you think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, it was a bill submitted by Samuel Peters with good intention. Using an example, in my district we have Anaconda, the Anaconda mine site.
Which is a Superfund site.
Which is a Superfund site, which actually supported my husband's family and many family members that I know of worked there and supported the community of Yerington. Unfortunately, the laws were not in place then about reclamation, and when it closed in about 1970, they left this big pit there, and so it's been an issue forever, and it is an eyesore. And what to do about that? Well, laws have changed since that time. You have to put up bonds before you can create a mine. You have to have plans for how you're going to close a mine before you put a mine in, which makes great sense. But that particular bill would kind of mandate that you backfill all of these mines, these pit lakes that are created when you create these mines, and especially if it's below the water table, and they naturally fill up. And so, unfortunately, although well-intended in my mind, I think it is seriously going to damage mining in our state, and I think that it's not a reasonable expectation of our mines. They can have a pit, make sure that it is reclaimed and definitely not pollutants in it, all of those kind of things, but to have them back full of all of this stuff, I think is going to be not something attainable. It's currently in our Ways and Means Committee on the Assembly side. I hope that it stays there.
Just out in the Humboldt River, there's a ton of water that gets pumped out of the Elko mines into the Humboldt River, and in fact, Winnemucca Farms, I believe, is utilizing that water and wants to be able to, in excess years, be able to sell that water.
Right.
So
as they should. Listen, I'm okay with monitoring mining. I think it's important, but at the same time, we don't want to put up so many obstacles that they can't do business here. Unreasonable obstacles.
Well, I mean, the other part of it is that this has become a national security issue for the country, and you're seeing these massive companies like GM coming in and buying up just about everything that Thacker Pass can produce in terms of lithium, that Ioneer can produce in terms of lithium. I'm just kind of curious as to when Nevada Copper is going to really come online, because that project has been sitting there in Yerington for so long.
Right, and they're really working. I've actually taken a tour out there of the Nevada Copper
Are we
area.
close?
It's all about water, actually. They need about 17,000 acre feet to do that mine. They've procured or kind of secured about 12,000, so they need some more. They're still, the local community is very anxious about it and wanting to make sure that they don't have to see, all they see is Anaconda, and so that's in their mind, and I don't blame them. And there are new folks that have moved into Nevada. They've fled from California, they're immigrants from California, and they moved to Smith Valley because it's this gorgeous area, and then they think that this copper mine is going in, and I've toured it. I'm supportive of it with obviously some oversight, but I don't think they want their copper, and I just always laugh at the somewhat hypocrisy that happens where they use their cell phones, their laptops, they want their cell towers, they want that power that requires
electric
copper,
vehicles.
And they want their electric vehicles. At the same time, somehow or other, they think that must grow off trees or something, because we have to mine that, and we're fortunate to mine it in Nevada. And so if you want to continue to grow as we're growing with our electric vehicles and those lithium batteries, we have to be sensible about where we're getting those products.
And we'll be right back.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's Development Company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's Development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
It's the Lucky Lexus Cash and Free Play giveaways at Tamarack. Weekly Cash and Free Play winners plus a $20,000 cash winner guarantee. And drive home a brand new Lexus NX30 or walk away with $42,500 in cash. It's a good time to win at Tamarack Casino.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Senator Dr. Robin Titus, a member of Finance, Health, and Human Services. So the Economic Forum says you got about $250 million more dollars.
Yeah.
And the A's, there's going to be a bill at some point before the end of session. What are your thoughts on those two items here?
You probably asked that question because I'm wearing a Knights pin today. And I will tell you, go Knights, they're playing tonight in the second series of the Stanley Cup. I'm an avid hockey player. And so I'm going to address that, addressing the Knights. I wear a Knights pin because the Knights they built T-Mobile. Not one penny of taxpayer dollars went into T-Mobile, and they're a great team. I've gone to games. Go Knights. However, I won't go into a Raiders game. I won't be in that stadium, nor do I support the Oakland A's. I know they're coming here with some money, but I am not about taxpayer-funded supporting of any professional team.
Despite the fact that construction did so well out of Allegiant, I mean, it's outperformed the expectations greatly.
I know our governor supports it, and I think Southern Nevada supports it, but I just am consistent in my beliefs, and I just don't feel that the government or the taxpayers should fund professional teams, especially when they don't stand for the flag. So sorry, I'm just not going there.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds left. Where should that $250 million go?
Well, our governor has already sent out, I do support his governor along his programs for education, transportation for charter kids. A lot of it will go into education, infrastructure. I think we need some projects. We need to improve some of our school buildings. We need to improve some of our own buildings in the state, roads. I think construction.
So one-shot money, basically.
One-shot money. We know that in the future we're not going to continue to have these funds. Part of that came from just interest on the Fed money, which I had no idea we could get interest on federal money. But in case we did, and so, but it's pretty flat if you think about the percent of our total income. The Economic Forum gave us a little bit, $250 million it seems like a lot, but compared to our overall budget, it's pretty flat. So
yeah, well, when you build a road, $250 million
doesn't go very far. So for me, infrastructure is key, education second.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you so much for doing this. Always appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it's always fun. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll be right back.
Located in the heart of Carson City, the Bank Saloon is a historic watering hole with a modern feel. With a variety of classic cocktails featuring Nevada spirits, space for private events, conferences, and an incredible atmosphere, the Bank Saloon offers a great location to work and play. Come visit us. Located at the corner of 5th and Carson, we'll save you a drink.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerauer, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2023 legislative session is brought to you by Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And by Nevada Builders Alliance, building a better Nevada.
Thanks to the Bank Saloon in Carson City and the Builders Alliance for their help with our coverage of the 2023 legislative session. We'll see you on the next broadcast.